What's up, everyone? Welcome to Frank Analysis. I'm your host, Franco. So AOC and the Justice Democrats, unsurprisingly to a lot of you, but to other people, this may not be so surprising. We do get some newcomers that find this channel. There's also, some casual viewers that don't watch all the videos here. This is still important to know, even if it is water is wet news, so that you can have more evidence to give people who don't know what's going on with the Justice Democrats and why we're not getting the change that we need via electoral politics. They're paying money, pretty much. They're paying money to maintain the system as it is. So, Unapologetic, Dontel of Unapologetic wrote an article discussing this, and I'm going to share that for you guys right now. So he has a new article on his Substack. It said, normally we look at the money coming into camps as an indicator of how they will perform. This time, where the money's going is the most revealing. AOC paid $1.4 million to a marketing firm to run her online store. So it's about branding to these people. So it's about branding themselves with slogans like Medicare for all and tax the rich, but then not actually getting anything done. Is that how we get Medicare for all? Why not write legislation like you're supposed to do? You're a legislator. Why aren't you doing that? Right? Oh, man. So this article starts out by saying, in politics, we learned that following. Okay. So that's a little bit of what he wrote in the tweet earlier. So he said, after going through FEC filing and open secrets and totaling money that went directly to consultants, Justice Democrats, which include Pramila Jayapal, Ro Khanna, Ilhan Omar, and AOC, gave a total of $13 million to DNC consultants over the last 3 years. The politicians who solicited millions in donations, explicitly promising to dismantle the corporate influence in the Democratic Party, plan to do it by dumping $13 million into the nexus of corporate influence consulting firms. So these individuals here, they found a niche in how they can raise money by saying that they're going to fix the problem. But then if the problem is actually fixed, they have nothing to keep running on. And so they have to have this grift where they say, look at all this corruption that these corporate politicians are doing. We as the Justice Democrats have to replace these people. But then when they get in, they start endorsing people like Nancy Pelosi, who they're supposed to be fighting against and replacing. They're not actually getting anything done. And then they vote for these bills that are written by these lobbyists that further empower the ruling class. At this point, I don't know what to tell you if you still support the Justice Democrats and still think that they're going to change the country. That you must not have the best critical thinking skills. And that's the nicest way that I can put it. I wanted to show you guys this. I thought this was really hilarious. Since we're talking about AOC, like, we talk about how these individuals are actors and actresses, and then when they get on camera to try to explain themselves, we're like, oh, why did you vote for this imperialist policy that, that gives money to Israel for their dome, for their Iron Dome? And they give word salad answers. Like when I was in front of the Capitol and then AOC was giving her speech and she was going like, yeah. And she wasn't saying anything. She was just saying a bunch of words that when you try to like really listen closely and try to understand what the sentence is saying, it's not really anything. It sounds like this.
And yet readily marginalizing that intersectionality. It's very profound. These conversations are intrinsically multifaceted, right? There are different angles to be looking at this from, and it's crucial to juxtapose that contrast within those realms of varying perspectives. And it's sort of the case where, are we asking ourselves the right questions, or are we all just sort of victim to the cause itself? It's suffocating, to be quite frank. It's paralyzing. But having these conversations is extremely, extremely vital in fundamental change, and being able to sort of step back and look at this from a bird's eye view and not just a worm's eye view. And that of course, begs the ever aching question of whose bird is this, right? Hunter, and yet readily marginal.
Whose bird is this? Oh my goodness. So yeah, I said I try to sound like how this guy and how AOC sounds over here. I said this complex yet fascinatingly vital video leaves one's perspective perplexed for reasons known and unknown. Right, AOC in front of the Capitol. We're here for reasons known and unknown. So let's read a bit further into what is mentioned here. So it says the fact that they are willing to invest this amount of money into the shady infrastructure of the party enters a major question. If they aren't funded by corporations, right? Because they say that they're funded by the people, which there's many evidence that shows that that's not necessarily the case. But what's mentioned here is why won't they ever challenge leadership to advance the policies they ran on? And just to add on to what Dontel said, why does leadership allow them to have protests like being in front of the Capitol steps? Right, the police wasn't arresting AOC or Cori Bush, but they were arresting other people who were protesting during Occupy Congress, people who aren't politicians. And these police officers get instructions, they get orders from Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House. The Justice Democrats, or the JustDems, I like the abbreviation that Dontel gives there. They're JustDems, right? They use our political donations as their buy-in to the corrupt but always profitable political machine. So this is the definition of grifting. Raising money to maintain the status quo as opposed to changing it. Yes, political consultants are the swamp, right? They give advice, they give horrible advice to these Democrats so that they can remain moderate, right? So that they can remain moderate. We saw that with Nina Turner. We saw that with Bernie Sanders. They're like, oh no, you don't want to scare off some potential voters. But if they start acting too moderate, then the people that you're trying to appeal to in that case will say, well, if you're trying to be like a moderate, why don't I just vote for the actual moderate? Why don't I just vote for the Pete Buttigieg? Or why don't I just vote for the Kamala Harris? Why do I have to vote for this Bernie Sanders, who I perceive as radical, but he's trying to sound moderate to try to gain my vote? But I can just, I'm a moderate. I'm just going to vote for a moderate. That's how these people think. It's so counterproductive, but it might be all by design. It might be all by design, seeing this rise in people that actually want change, these younger people that want change. Most of them are younger. And getting their hopes up. It's no different from professional wrestling. It's political wrestling. So it makes you think, right? Bernie Sanders this entire time, he was just participating in professional wrestling. So it's time for us to see through that and start investing more in community organizing and mutual aid, in direct action events, and ways that you can find places to invest your money in. Like if you consider yourself somebody who wants to actually change the system, donating to politicians is not going to cut it anymore. So stop donating to politicians, invest in community organizing, mutual aid, invest in yourself. Invest in self-help books or just in any other book. Right, that's money better spent than spending it on these politicians. So yeah, talk to people in your Discord, your Twitter, or other online communities about where you can invest your money for community organizing. Do not donate to co-opted movements like the Sunrise Movement or 350.org. I have videos that expose Sunrise and 350.org. You can check out the work of Robbie Yeager, exposing where their money comes from. Their money comes from the people that we're supposed to be fighting against, like George Soros and all these other people. Check out Cory Morningstar's work on The Wrong Kind of Green for more information on how these movements are co-opted and are bought off by big green billionaires. And like I said, spending money on a book is more worthwhile than donating to a politician who won't change anything for us. Now, there is something else that I want to highlight from this article that Dontel wrote. So he said, chicanery with DNC consultants isn't new. People should have learned their lesson already 4 years ago. So he said, don't believe me. I'm not the only one who thinks there's something foul going on. The Democratic Party and their political operatives who run these consultant firms, Nomiki Konst, who was part of the DNC Reform Commission and got an inside look at the extraordinary sums of money that were being given to a handful of consultants. Now, Nomiki Konst, she still supports Justice Democrats, and she tries to kneecap direct action events now. So she knows better. For people who know her stances on still supporting these politicians, she knows better. So the peak of her popularity online was when a clip was being circulated of her lambasting other members of the DNC for the brazen corruption. In 2016, between $700 million to $800 million was spent on 5 consulting firms just to ultimately lose the House, Senate, and White House to Trump. During the golden era of high-priced consultants, Democrats lost over 1,200 seats at all levels of government. So they lost the House, the Senate, and the White House. Now we finally have that, and we're not getting anything done that's actually going to benefit people's lives. So what's the excuse now? Getting legislation like Build Back Better, which is legislation that's going to lead us to the Great Reset, which is advancing capitalism, which is going to further oppress us, surveil us. It's a pathway towards digital IDs so that the ruling class that we're supposed to be fighting against can keep track of you, to make sure that we don't rise up. Considering all the advantages these incumbents have that I've gone over before, I have a hard time believing AOC spent $1.4 million on a clothing line because she thought that will protect her seat from a challenger. I'm unconvinced that Ilhan Omar really believes $2.9 million to her husband's media consulting firm is what will keep her in Congress fighting the good fight. If Pramila Jayapal believes in giving a DNC consulting firm $900,000 to run Medicare for All ads move the needle at all on single payer, I have a bridge to sell her. If the old adage that money is power is true, then the overpaid consultant class of the Democratic Party are second only to the donors in maintaining the corporate capture of the party. So once again, they're grifting to maintain their brand, to maintain their career, and keep people's hopes up. That's all it is. They are celebrities. To keep this image, they're actors and actresses that perform in front of cameras to make it look like they are heroes fighting for you. It's all a grift, guys. And you know this. And for people who are just learning this, now you know. And you're not alone, and I know you'll stay informed.